Hello everybody, this is pustakverma and today we are going to discuss about a story from grade 12 compulsory English new course from literature portion, and it's the treasures in the forest. Here the term treasures refers to blocks of gold, silver, ruby and diamond, that means in Nepali khazana. So before reading this story, we have to know about some of the questions which are mentioned in our textbooks. Question A. Have you read any story about treasure hunting before? If yes, what is its title? तपाईले योभन्दा अगाडि कुनै ट्रेजर हन्टिङको स्टोरी पढ्नु भएको छ भने यसको शीर्षक के हो? Yes, I have read a story about treasure hunting before, and it's the Gold Bug, depicted by Edgar Allan Poe. The another story is The Treasure's Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Then about question B, why do you think people take a risk of treasure hunting? मान्छेहरूले treasure hunting को risk किन लिने गर्ने गर्छन्? I think people take a risk of treasure hunting because it develops new skills, strengthens and reinforces other skills as well, such as this is leadership, communications, problem solving. People take it as a great success, as if they have won an Olympic gold medal. After discovering the treasures, they feel very much elated, very much happy, as if they have received a gold medal in the Olympics. Then about the author H.G. Wells. About the author, we can see that the name of this is H.G. Wells' full name was Herbert George Wells, and he was an English novelist, journalist, sociologist, historian, best known for science fiction novels. He is known as the father of science fiction. लाई साइन्स फिक्सनको फादरको रूपमा पनि चिन्ने गरिन्छ. His first novel, The Time Machine, 1895, was immediately successful. So he headed a series of science fiction novels that revealed him as a writer of marked originality and immense richness of ideas. He wrote dozens of novels, short stories, works of social commentary, history, satire, biography, and autobiography. Versatile writer. विभिन्न विधामा उनले के गरे जानरजहरू लेखेका छन्. द ट्रेजर्स इन द फरेस्ट टेकन आउट फ्रम द कलेक्सन द कन्ट्री अफ द ब्लाइन्ड एन्ड अदर सर्ट स्टोरिज. एन्ड दिस द ट्रेजर्स इन द फरेस्ट इज एन एडभेन्चर स्टोरी, साहसीपूर्ण कथा हो, अबाउट two men's search for Spanish treasures, letting greed get the better of their awareness. It also shows how power and greed corrupt human beings. कसरी power र greed के हुन्छ मान्छेको लागि नराम्रो हुन जान्छ. That is also mentioned in this story. Then about characterizations. The characters is in the story are Ivan and Hooker. And these are the two friends who make an adventurous journey on a tropical island for hunting treasures. Another character is Chang He, a Chinese man who has a map about the treasures. The another characters are this is two other Chinese men, the co-workers, helpers of the Chang He. Then about the summary, the treasures in the forest. The Treasures in the Forest is a suspense story depicted as a third-person narrative relating the fate of two treasure hunters, Ivan and Hookers, who murder a Chinese man, steal his treasure maps, which locates a buried stash of gold ingots. Ingots भनेको ब्लक्सहरू, blocks of golden things. And the story begins with the two characters, Ivan and Hooker, who were heading towards a coral island in the heat of the noon sun after having paddled all night from the mainland through the sea in a canoe. एउटा बोटमा प्याडलिङ गर्ने खालको बोट हुन्छ, जहाज त्यसमा गरिरहेको हुन्छन्, in search of Spanish treasures. Hooker is studying a map of treasures which the narrators reveals that they have stolen from a Chinaman, Chang He, whom they murdered during the theft. Changi had by chance discovered the treasures left behind by a shipwrecked Spanish galleon. Spanish galleon भनेको Spanish boat जुन के हुन्छ पल्टिएको हुन्छ, and had decided to rebury it elsewhere at a location revealed by his map. They are very much tired and hungry as if they had no any food to eat. They see the map and get puzzled by the dashes of the shown in the map. म्यापमा ड्यासेसहरू देखेर तिनीहरू के हुन्छन् त पजल्ड हुन्छन्, एकदमै आश्चर्यचकित हुन्छन्. Ivan and Hooker identify the spots indicated in the map, and after beaching their canoe, spot थाहा पाइसकेपछि तिनीहरू बोटलाई के गर्छन् समुद्रको छेउमा पार्क गर्छन्. Then they enter into the interior of the island through the forest. त्यसपछि उनीहरू फरेस्टको भित्रतिर जान्छन्. As Hooker is sailing the boat, Hookerले बोट चलाइरहेको हुन्छ. Ivan falls asleep and sees a little fire with three Chinese people sitting around it in his dream. उसले के गर्छ एउटा आगो बलेको देख्छ. आगोको नजिक तीनजना चाइनिज म्यानहरू बसिरहेका हुन्छन्. They were talking about Spanish treasure. त्यो स्पेनिस जो खजाना हुन्छ त्यसको बारेमा कुरा गरिरहेको हुन्छन्. Which a Chinese man Chang he had got in an island after shipwrecked, and he wanted to take those treasures away from there. They murdered the Changi, a Chinese man, brutally and steal the treasures map. यो इभान र हुकलले के गर्छन् चाइनिज म्यानलाई मर्डर गर्छन्. When Changi gets murdered, he grins at them. पुरा एकदमै दाँत देखाएर के गर्छ एक किसिमको साउन्ड प्रोड्युस गर्छ. They traveled by the canoe sailing towards the coral island. त्यसपछि after getting the map, they moved towards the island. However, neither of them understand the intention behind. They follow the map and soon discover a forest in a pile of stones, just like the map. But then they find a man's corpse. एउटा मान्छेको त्यहाँ के हुन्छ लास पनि तिनीहरूले के गर्छन् भेटाउँछन्. Full of bruises and laid beside with the purple and sullen body. जो के हुन्छ brutally killed भएको हुन्छ, उसको बडी सुन्निएको हुन्छ. Which they assumes as च्याङ हिज वर्कर. सायद च्याङ हिजको वर्कर हुन सक्छ जसले एक्लै त्यो डायम अथवा के गर्छ ट्रेजर्सलाई खन्न आएको हुन सक्छ. एडभान्टेज अफ हिमसेल्फ सिइङ द डग होल एन्ड सम गोल्ड. त्यहाँ के हुन्छ खनेको खाल्डो पनि देख्छन् र गोल्ड पनि देख्छन्. द टु म्यान load as much as of the gold they can drag back to the canoe in Ivan's jackets and set up. But after about 100 yards, Ivan's arm start to ache. उसको पाखुरा दुख्न सुरु गर्छ. And eventually faints. Ivan faints हुन्छ. Hooker in rearranging the ingots. जब हुकरले के गर्छ त्यो सुन गोल्डन ब्लक्सहरूलाई उसले के गर्छ बोक्न सुरु गर्ने बेलामा on the jacket. After Ivan's collapse himself feels a thorn pricks. उसको के हुन्छ उस एउटा काँडा के हुन्छ बित्छ. And at last Hooker then realizes the true meaning of Chang he had behind his grin. उसले कराएको जो साउन्ड एकदम रिसाएर देखाउँछ त्यसको के हुन्छ मिनिङ उसले थाहा पाउँछ. Chang he had covered his treasures with thorns. उसले आफ्नो डायमन्ड गहनाहरूलाई के गर्छ त खजानालाई उसले काँडाले छोपेको हुन्छ. Similar to those the Dax poison. Dax जातिका मान्छेहरू नेटिभ ग्रुप्स अफ बोर्नियो ब्लो पाइप विथ लेथल पोइजन एट इट्स टिप. अथवा तिनीहरूले एउटा पाइप राख्छन्, पाइपको अगाडि लेथल पोइजन लगाउँछन् अनि त्यसबाट फुक्छन्. फुकेपछि अरू आफ्नो इनिमिजहरूलाई तिनीहरूले के गर्छन् त किल्लो गर्ने काम गर्छन्. In this way the story ends as Hooker lies dying alongside and still quivering body of companion. Both of them are in suffering positions. They get troubles a lot. So in this way the story ends. यसरी के हुन्छ कथा के हुन्छ सिद्धिन्छ. Then about the visual summary. This is the one of the new extra things that is help us to get the ideas of the story. In the opening we find Ivan and Hooker. They are sailing the canoe. They are moving towards the tropical island. गइरहेका हुन्छन्. त्यसपछि is one Hooker is sailing the boat. Ivan falls asleep. He sees a dream. In the dreams he finds three men, Chinese men are sitting around the fire. तिनीहरू बसिरहेका हुन्छन्. They are discussing about the map as well as the treasures of Spanish gallant. And then there was this battle between this Ivan Hooker and the Chinese people. and they killed. The Chinese man takes the map, is map Linson, and by the help of map, they reaches the place. They get the is treasures. तिनीहरू खजाना पाउँछन्. By the help of the courts, तिनीहरू कोर्टमा के गर्छन्? गहना भर्छन् त्यो ट्रेजर्सहरू, खजानाहरू. त्यसपछि they move towards the canoe. In this way, the story is ends. यसरी के गर्छ? कथा के हुन्छ? एन्डिङ हुन्छ. Then about the main theme of the story. यस कथाको मेन थीम को कुरा गर्दाखेरि हामीले के भन्न सक्छौं? H.G. Wells The Treasures in the Forest is a suspense story. यो एउटा के हो त? सस्पेन्स स्टोरी हो. Where the two treasure hunters make an adventurous journey. साहसीपूर्ण जर्नी यात्रा गर्छन् for Spanish treasure. स्पेनिश को खजाना को लागि. The story carries the theme of, यसको मेन थीम के हो? Greed and power. हरेक मान्छेको के हुन्छ? Everyone desires is many more and even is wants to be powerful. It is said that greed makes people crazy. The greed ले मान्छेलाई crazy बनाउँछ, leads to the disordered desire. Greed can be for anything. जुनसुकै चिजको लागि हुन सक्छ, but is the most commonly for money or treasures. पैसा र अथवा यस खजाना or power को लागि many more dangerous, which can lead to someone's death as well. जसले के हुन्छ? कसैको ज्यान पनि लिन र दिन दुईटै सक्छ. Which we find in the story. Then there is a proverb of Mahatma Gandhi which suits to this context. Earth provides enough to satisfy every human's need. अर्थमा धेरै कुराहरू छ, जे पनि छ, हरेक मान्छेको निडलाई सेटिस्फाई गर्न सक्छ, तर मान्छेको ग्रीडलाई सेटिस्फाई गर्न सक्दैन. भनेको यसले पनि के देखाउँछ? ग्रीड भनेको नराम्रो चीज हो. Yes, people say that money is the root of evils. पैसा भनेको खराबीको के हो त? जरो हो. And the greed is a desire that is born within us. हामी भित्रै जन्मेको हुन्छ. It represents the exact image of how money causes people to become greedy, selfish, cruel in some cases. कसरी पैसाले मान्छेहरूलाई के गर्छ? greedy, crazy, is and even cruel, selfish बनाउँछ. So then about the glossary, yes, which are presented in our textbooks. They are the canoe, a small light narrow boat pointed at both ends and moved using a paddle. Paddleबाट चलाउने boat is imperceptible, unable to be noticed or felt because of being very slight. Obliterated is removed all signs of something either by destroying it or by covering it so that it cannot be seen. Exaltations, a very strong feeling of happiness, खुसीको एकदमै feelings. Unprovisioned, without supplies of food or other necessary things. Ingots, a piece of metal usually in the shape of a narrow bricks. Silvered, looked white like silver. Pidgin, grammatically simplified language. Galleon, a large sailing ship with 3 or 4 of mast, using both in the trade and war from the 15th to the 18th centuries. Exhume, to dig out from the ground after it has been buried. Rascals, a person who does nothing positive with his life, good for nothing. Giver, to speak quickly in a way that cannot be understood. Lagoon, an area of seawater separated from sea by a reef. Tangle, an untidy mass of things that are not in a state of order. The others are implement, a tool that works by being moved by hand, transfers in a position or direction that is at an angle of 90 degrees to something else. Prospect, to search for gold, oil, and other valuable substances on or under the surface of the earth. Canopy, a cover fixed over a seat or bed. Incrustations, a layer of material such as dirt or a chemical that forms something especially slowly. Is somewhere dark and dull. Shaft, a beam of light. Rosette, an object of or arrangement resembling a rose. Swerve, change or cause to change the direction abruptly. Prostrate, lying with a face down and arms stretched out, especially as a sign of respect or worship. Moon, to move or spend time in a way that shows the lack of care and interest and no clear purpose. Spasmodically, related to sudden involuntarily muscular contractions. So these are the vocabularies which are presented in our text glossaries. Then about the questions. Question, understanding the text, question number A. यसको हाम्रो क्वेशन ए मा रहेको छ. ए क्वेशन, डिस्क्राइब द एक्सपोजिटरी सीन अफ द स्टोरी. कथाको ओपनिङ सुरुवात सीनलाई डिस्क्राइब गर्नुहोस्. So the story opens with a canoe, एउटा बोट. Approaching to the land by two treasure hunters, treasure hunterले के गरेको हुन्छ ल्यान्डतिर लिएर गइरहेको हुन्छन्. The named Ivan and Hooker, a little river flowing to the sea, सानो नदी बगिरहेको, the thicker and deeper green forest, slopy hill and the sea. These are the things which we find at the beginning of the story. Then about question B, what does the map look like? Map कस्तो देखिन्छ? And how do Ivan and Hooker interpret it? Ivan र हुकरले कसरी यसलाई के गर्छन् व्याख्या गर्छन्. So the map looks like a rough map, creased and worn to the pitch of separation. Ivan interprets twisting line in the map as the river and a star as the place, and Hooker interprets the dotted line and straight line and the way to the lagoon in the map. Question number C. How did Ivan and Hooker know about the treasures? दुईटाले treasures को बारेमा कसरी थाहा पाए उसको खजानाको बारेमा. Ivan and Hooker knew about the treasures by the conversation of Chinese man and the map he had. Chinese man को conversation बाट. Describe Ivan's dream. Ivan को dream लाई व्याख्या गर्नुहोस्. Ivan had a dream about the treasure and Changhi. यसको बारेमा उनले dream देख्छ. In the dream they were in the forest. They saw a little fire where the three Chinese men sat around it. एउटा आगो देख्छन् त्यसको चारैतिर चाइनिज मेन बसेका हुन्छन्. Talked in a quiet voices in English. Ivan went closer. He knows that Changhi took the gold from the Spanish galleon after shipwrecked and hid it carefully on the island. त्यसलाई के हुन्छ लुकाएको हुन्छ. He walked alone and it was his secret, but now he wanted help to get the gold back. There was a battle and Changhi is brutally killed by them. It's by Hooker and Evans. Then about question E. What do the two treasure hunters see when they walk towards the island? जब तिनीहरू आइल्यान्डतिर जान्छन् तिनीहरूले के देख्छन्? The two treasure hunters see the three palm trees in a line with a clump of bushes and the mouth of streams when they walk towards the island. Question number F. In what condition did the treasure hunter find the dead man? Dead man लाई कुन अवस्थामा पाउँछन्? Dead man is the treasure hunter found the dead man lying in a clear space. खुला ठाउँमा पल्टेको हुन्छ among the treesहरूको बीचमा and foot and purple neck. घाँटी पनि swollen भएको हुन्छ, swollen hands and ankles. How did the treasure hunter try to carry gold ingots in the canoe? कसरी तिनीहरूले गोल्डका टुक्राहरू बक्सहरूलाई ब्लकहरूलाई क्यानोमा बोक्न प्रयास गर्छन्? So the treasure hunters tried to carry gold ingots into the canoe by the help of the coat. Coat को मददले by which 1 inch of the color catching by the hand of Hooker and another color by the Ivan. दुईटाले एक एक साइडको कुनाको कलरको समात्छन् अनि गोल्ड त्यसमा राख्छन्. Then they carry. How were Ivan and Hooker poisoned? तिनीहरू कसरी विषादित हुन्छन्? Ivan and Hooker were poisoned as slender एउटा thin पातलो thorn जो के हुन्छ nearly of 2 inches length pricked in Hooker's thumb. Hooker को thumb मा के हुन्छ बित्छ. And Ivan rolled over him. Ivan त्यसैको माथि खस्छ. And both of them crumpled together on the ground, which made them suffered a lot. जसले गर्दा यी दुवै क्यारेक्टर के हुन्छ they suffered very much. एकदमै के हुन्छ पीडित हुन्छन्. So then about reference to the context. How do you know the story is set on a tropical island? Story कसरी तपाईले थाहा पाउनुहुन्छ कि ट्रपिकल आइल्यान्डमा सेट गरिएको छ? ट्रपिकल आइल्यान्ड इन नेपाली उष्णकटिबंधीय टापु भन्छ. Better to know tropical island is. So the story Treasures in the Forest has been set on a tropical land. It begins with two men, Ivan and Hooker, heading in a canoe towards the coral island in the heat of the noon sun after having paddled all the night from the mankind. Here the tropical islands are known to have uniquely naturally variable ecosystem, including tropical rainforest, open woodlands, grass savannas, fresh water, lake and streams, salt marshes, and mud flat भनेको wetland भिजेको ठाउँ, mangroves भनेको यस्तो खालको trees जुन के हुन्छ समुद्रको छेउमा पाइन्छन्, coastal forest, sea grass, shrinking and offshore coral reef यस्तो खालको रिफहरू जुन के हुन्छ समुद्रको तल पाइने and deep sea. These are the characteristics found is in tropical island, and these characteristics are also found in this story is the treasures in the forest. Thus we can see that the story has been set in the tropical island. As we go through the story, it opens with a canoe approaching land, setting up the bay is with wide surf of the reef, and the little river is running to the sea. The virgin forest, मान्छे नहिँडेको एकदम completely virgin, slopy hills, so on. Its atmosphere, ecosystem, thicker and green forest, fresh water, steam coastal forest, palm trees, thorny bushes, sea grasses, depth sea illustrate the reader to know that the story is set on a tropical island. These are the things that help us to know that the story has been set in a tropical island. Then about question B. Why do you think Ivan and Hooker took such a risk of finding the buried treasures in a desert island? किन तिनीहरूले त्यस्तो रिस्क लिन्छन् डिजर्टमा त्यस्तो बरिड गरेको आइल्यान्ड जो हाम्रो ट्रेजर्स हुन्छ त्यसलाई खन्नको लागि तिनीहरूले किन त्यस्तो रिस्क लिएका हुन्छन् सो द एन्सर इज आई थिंक इभान एन्ड हुकर took such a risk of finding the buried treasures in a desert island because of following reason. The first one is treasures hunt help people. Treasure hunting ले मान्छेलाई के गर्छ to develop new skill, नयाँ skill develop गर्छ. Strengthen and reinforce other skills such as leadership, communication and problem solving. The second one is this is of equal benefit to employees and employers combined. दुईटैको लागि जो खनिरहेका हुन्छन् जो सँगै गएका हुन्छन् सबैको लागि बेनिफिसियल हुन्छ. It develops ability to tackle with any difficulty circumstances. यसले मान्छेलाई बलियो strong and brave बनाउँछ. They think risk are rewarding. Risk लियौं भने if they take risk they will rewarded with something. केही न केही पाउनेछन्. It is said that gold makes people crazy. गोल्डले पनि मान्छेलाई crazy बनाएको हुन्छ. Therefore they is visit there. It also reveals their greed for wealth. Because of these reasons, Ivan and Hooker is they take the risk of hunting the treasures. Then question number C. Do you think the narrator of the story is a racist? के तपाईको विचारमा narrator यस कथाको racist हो? If yes, what made him feel superior to other races? I find some sort of racist feeling in the narrator of the story. When he presents Ivan and Hooker as superior to that of Chinese man in the story. Chinese man भन्दा Ivan Hookerलाई superior present गर्छन्. In fact, racist is a person who is prejudiced against or antagonist towards the people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic groups. Typically one that is minority or marginalized. In this story, we find Chinese man was brutally killed by the Ivans and Hooker. In Yole Marsan. On the other hand, when Hooker said to Evans, "Have you lost your wit?" it also reflects dominating nature of Hooker's over Evan. Thus, many instances in the story state that the narrator of the story looks like a racist. Then question number D. What do you think is the moral of the story? यस कथाको moral के हो? The moral is the more they desire for greed and power, the more they become selfish. जति बढी तिनीहरू पावर र लोभ पावरको लागि इच्छा गर्छन् पावर पाउनको लागि र जति बढी लोभी हुन्छन् त्यति बढी तिनीहरू सेल्फिश हुन्छन्. Is the main moral of this story. The treasure in the forest, Ivan and Hooker's greed increases. उनीहरूको greed increase हुन्छ as they come to know about the treasures. They murdered the Chinese man Chang He brutally and they went in search of treasures by the help of that man. It is greed that is disordered desires for more than is decent, not for the greater good, but for the one's own selfish interest. यसको लागि के हुन्छ यसले selfish interest को कुरा गर्छ at the detriment of others and the society at large. Greed can be for anything. जुनसुकैको लागि greed हुन सक्छ, but most commonly for money, treasures or power is many more dangerous. यो के हुन्छ यदि हामी greed के हुन्छ हाम्रो लोभ के को लागि छ पैसाको लागि छ खजानाको लागि छ र पावरको लागि छ भने यो के हुन्छ it is many more dangerous. It can take the life of people as well. Yes, it leads someone's death as well, which we find in the story जुन हामीले के हुन्छ कथामा पनि पाएका छौं. Then about this is question a reference to the context. Here the question A is interpret the story as a mystery story. So okay, that's as the story enters into the mind of the characters. There is dream, there is suspense, there is so many things that we find in the story. So we can say that it's obviously a mystery story. Yes. H.G. Wells' Treasure in the Forest is a mystery story involving two rascals, a neglected situation, the dead body of a Chinese man, and thrones that draws the blood in Hooker's thumbs. It carries many suspenseful instances, such as just to Kiki. The first one is the story is about two treasure hunters, Evans and Hookers, who seek to find the hidden treasures in the forest. This term hidden treasures itself reveals that the story is a suspense or mystery story. Hooker murders Chang He, a Chinese man, to steal the treasure map. Chang He grins at them when he gets murdered, and his grinning at Evans and Hooker is also a mystery, which is justified at the end of the story. They travel by canoe. Canoe को मतलब they travel गर्छन्, sailing towards the coral island. However, neither of them understand the intention. Traveling without any intention is itself is a suspense. Doubtful instances. They follow the map and soon discover the forest. Then a pile of stone just like the map. But then they find a man's crops. Getting the crops of the man, Chinese man, is also one of the suspenseful instance. As soon as they see the gold, Evans start to pick them up back in the canoes. However, both of them suffer a lot. And the last one is Hooker then realizes the true meaning behind the green of Changhe. In this way, we can say that this is a suspenseful or mystery story. Then the last question is the treasure hunting is a favorable subject of children's story. हामीले बच्चाहरूको स्टोरी पढ्यौँ भने ट्रेजर हन्टिङ धेरै जसो त्यसमा हुन्छ. रिमेम्बर द ट्रेजर हन्टिङ स्टोरी यु रिड. तपाईँले पढ्नु भएको एउटा ट्रेजर हन्टिङ स्टोरी रिड गर्नुहोस् एन्ड कम्पेयर एन्ड कन्ट्रास्ट इट विथ द ट्रेजर्स इन द फरेस्ट. द ट्रेजर्स इन द फरेस्टसँग कम्पेयर गर्नुहोस्. यस आई हेभ रिड अ स्टोरी अ ट्रेजर हन्टिङ स्टोरी नेम्ड द गोल्ड बग written by Edgar Allan Poe. And as we compare and contrast these two stories, we come to know both the treasures in the forest and the gold box are the suspenseful story, or is they are mystery story. Second, in the gold box, William Legrand goes on a treasure hunting on a remote island in South Carolina. त्यहाँ South Carolina मा जान्छ. But in this story, the treasures in the forest, Ivan and Hookers head to an unnamed tropical island in the search of treasures. So the third one is the narrator in both of the stories unnamed. They are not given proper names. Fourth one is the island is found mossy, thick metal, surfs, etc. in both of these stories. The characters estimate the total value of the treasures at about $1.5 million in gold box. Gold box मा characters ले के गर्छ? जुन पाएको ट्रेजर्स हुन्छ त्यसको इभ्यालुएसन गर्छ. But in the event treasures in the forest, they carry the treasures in a canoe. बोटमा तिनीहरू बोक्छन्. पेट डग एउटा पाल्तु कुकुरलाई के गरिएको छ युज्ड इन गोल्ड बक्समा युज गरिएको छ. तर एस द ट्रेजर्स इन द म्याप वी फाइन्ड एस ट्रेजर्स इन द एस फरेस्ट वी फाइन्ड म्याप इज युज्ड म्यापको प्रयोग गरिएको छ. द गोल्ड बक्स डिल्स विथ द थीम लाइक वेल्थ एन्ड फर्चुन. गोल्ड बक्सको थीम के हो धन र भाग्य. But the treasures in the forest projects the theme like greed and power. तर हाम्रो यो ट्रेजर्स इन द फरेस्टले के गर्छ त ग्रीड र पावरको थिमलाई के गर्छ प्रेजेन्ट गर्छ. सो दिस इज अबाउट द सिमिलरिटिज एन्ड डिफरेन्सेस that we find in the story the gold box and the treasures in the forest. So okay, this is about the story the treasures in the forest by H.G. Wells. Regarding this story, if you have any problems, you can mention below in the comment box. If you find this video interesting and helpful, please like these videos, subscribe it, and click on the bell icon to get notification of upcoming videos. Thank you everybody. Goodbye. Have a good day.